The Galactic Council gathered in the Great Crystal Spire on Nexara Prime. Thousands of delegates from dozens of ancient species filled the huge round chamber. Light from the triple suns outside danced through the clear walls and made rainbow patterns on the polished floor. High Chancellor Vextra of the Clythari stood on the central platform. His many-jointed limbs clicked softly as he moved. His compound eyes scanned the assembly with calm pride. The Clythari were old and powerful. Their fleets ruled whole sectors for longer than most species could remember. Next to him rose the massive form of Warlord Grask of the Zorath. The reptilian giant wore armor plates that shone like black oil. His tail swept the floor in slow arcs. Around them floated the luminary delegates. Their bodies glowed with soft inner light. They spoke little, but everyone listened when they did. In one small section sat the human delegation. Only 5 people occupied the seats marked for Earth. Ambassador Elena Vasquez led them. She wore a plain gray uniform with no decorations. Her face showed no fear and no smile. The other 4 humans sat straight and quiet. The council had called this session to deal with humans again. For 30 years, Earth had been a probationary member. The older species saw humans as noisy newcomers. They came from one small blue world. They spread fast, but they lacked the grace of true civilization. Or so the council believed. Today the topic was Epsilon Verge. A human colony sat on that distant moon. The settlers mined iridium there. Iridium powered many council ships. The humans claimed the moon under old exploration rights. The council said no permit existed in the central archive. Permits mattered more than facts to the council. Vextra raised one claw. Silence fell across the chamber. "We have reviewed the evidence," he said in his sharp, clicking voice. "The humans of Epsilon Verge operate without authorization. They remove resources that belong to all member species. This cannot stand." Murmurs rose from the seats. Some delegates nodded. Others looked bored. Grask leaned forward. His deep rumble filled the air. "The Zorath propose immediate action. We will send a joint task force. We will secure the moon and remove the illegal operation." A luminary delegate shimmered brighter for a moment. "Is force necessary? The humans may negotiate." Vextra made a quick gesture of dismissal. "They have ignored 3 warnings. Negotiation ends when obedience fails." The vote began. Lights appeared above each delegation. Green for yes, red for no. Abstain showed no light. Most species voted green. A few smaller races hesitated, then turned green. Human section stayed dark. No light appeared above Elena Vasquez. The final tally flashed on the huge holoscreen. 78% approved the action. Vextra turned to the humans. "You hear the will of the council. Remove your people from Epsilon Verge within 10 cycles, or we will remove them for you." Elena Vasquez stood slowly. She looked straight at Vextra. Her voice carried clear across the chamber. "You plan to attack our colony. You plan to kill our people." Vextra tilted his head. "We plan to enforce the law. If your settlers resist, then consequences follow. That is the way of order." Elena took one step forward. "You call this order? You call murder order?" Grask laughed, a low rolling sound like stones in a drum. "Primitives always cry when the strong speak. Your kind arrived late. You must learn your place." Elena ignored him. She faced the Bacena. "Entire assembly. 3 million souls live on Epsilon Verge. Families, children, workers who dig and build. You would burn them to teach a lesson." Vextra clicked his mandibles. "Exaggeration does not change facts. We use precise orbital strikes. Civilian casualties remain minimal." Elena stared at him. "Minimal." The word hung in the air. She spoke again. You have made your choice, now we make ours. She turned and walked toward the exit. The other 4 humans rose and followed. No one stopped them. Laughter rippled through the chamber. The Clythari chittered in amusement. The Zorath rumbled with scorn. The Luminari glowed dimmer as if puzzled. Vexthra raised his voice. Let the record show the humans withdrew without consent. Their protest means nothing. The session continued. Delegates discussed trade routes and border disputes. Epsilon Verge again. Outside the Crystal Spire, Elena and her team boarded their shuttle. The small craft lifted silently into the violet sky. Inside the cabin, one aide spoke softly. Madam Ambassador, what happens now? Elena looked out the window at the shrinking spire. Now, she said, we wait. The fleet leaves in 3 days. They will reach Epsilon Verge in 12 more. We have 15 days total. Another aide frowned. 15 days to evacuate 3 million people? Impossible. Elena nodded once. Evacuation is not the plan. The aides exchanged glances. Then they sat in silence. The shuttle flew toward the human orbital station. Far below, on Nexara Prime, the council delegates returned to their palaces and ships. They ate fine meals, they watched entertainments, they slept without worry. In their minds, the matter was closed. A minor species had been corrected. Prevailed. Out in the black between stars, a different story began. On Earth, factories that had stayed quiet for years woke up. Lights flickered on in deep tunnels beneath old mountains. Huge machines hummed. Engineers checked systems long unused. In the asteroid belt, hidden yards opened their blast doors. Long shapes emerged from the dark. They moved without lights. They moved without signals. They carried no flags. Crew members boarded in silence. They knew their orders. No declarations, no speeches, only action. On Sol stations, data screens showed fleet movements. Council ships gathered at staging points. Clythari carriers, Zorath battleships, support vessels from lesser allies. They formed a spear aimed at Epsilon Verge. Humans watched the formation grow. They counted every hull. They marked every course. They waited. Back on Nexara Prime, Vexthra stood. On his balcony. He looked at the stars. He felt satisfied. The humans would learn. All species learned eventually. The strong ruled. The weak obeyed. That was the law of the galaxy. He did not know, he could not know, that the humans had already stopped obeying. They had started counting, and their math had begun. The fleet launched on schedule. Hundreds of ships jumped into hyperspace. They aimed for the small moon and its stubborn colony. They carried weapons meant to teach. They carried confidence born of centuries. They never suspected that something ruthless traveled toward them in return. Something patient, something precise, something human. The galaxy turned and waited for the lesson to finish. The shuttle docked at the Earth orbital station, high above the homeworld. Elena Vasquez stepped out first. Her team followed close behind. The station corridors hummed with quiet activity. Crew members moved fast, but spoke in low voices. Everyone knew something big had started. They just did not know how big yet. Elena walked straight to the command deck. The door slid open without a sound. Inside, General Marcus Hale waited. He stood tall in his black uniform. His face looked carved from stone. Around him, screens showed live feeds from across the system. Ships in the asteroid belt, factories on the moon, subsurface bases on Mars, all of them active now. Hale turned to Elena. They did it, he said. 3 million gone. No survivors reported. Elena nodded once. I saw the broadcast. The footage played on every screen for a moment. Bright beams from orbit. Turning to glass. Screams cut short. Then silence. Hale clenched his fist. The council thinks we will beg now. They think we will fracture. Elena looked at him. They are wrong. Hale gave a small, tight smile. Then we begin. For the next 17 days, Earth stayed quiet. No messages went out to the council. No ships moved in plain view. No protests filled the nets. The galaxy watched and waited. Most species laughed at the silence. They called it fear. They called it surrender. Clythari news channels ran long segments. They showed experts explaining human weakness. One insectoid commentator said humans break easy. They fight among themselves. They will split into small, angry groups. Another Zorath general appeared on screen. He flexed his armored shoulders. The humans hide now. Soon they will come crawling for terms. We will grant mercy, after they kneel. Across the galaxy, trade continued. Ships moved between stars. Delegates attended parties. Life went on, as if nothing had changed. But under the surface, something massive shifted. On Earth, old bunkers opened their heavy doors. Lights came on in halls that had stayed dark for decades. Workers in plain coveralls filed in. They carried tools and blueprints. They started machines that had not run since first contact. These were not shiny new devices. These were heavy, brutal designs from the old wars, before the Council told humanity to behave. Huge presses stamped out armor plates. Furnaces melted rare metals into dense cores. Engineers tested engines that burned hotter than anything the Council allowed. In the Kuiper Belt, secret yards came alive. Long tubes stretched out into the dark. These were accelerators, not the gentle ones used for science. These pushed dense bolts, slugs to speeds so close to light that time itself bent around them. Technicians loaded the first projectiles. Each one weighed tons. Each one carried no warhead, just pure kinetic force. They launched in secret arcs. Months earlier, the calculations had started. The slugs would take time to reach their targets, but when they arrived, nothing would stop them. No shields could block mass at that velocity. No point defense could track something moving that fast. The math was simple and perfect. In hidden shipyards around Jupiter, crews boarded vessels. These ships looked plain from outside. No fancy curves, no glowing emitters, just thick hulls and massive engines. Inside they carried surprises. Drones small enough to hide in cargo crates. Charges made from materials the Council banned long ago. Antimatter pellets in containment fields, shaped to punch through armor like needles. Boarding teams drilled in zero gravity. They practiced fast entries, silent kills, no wasted motion. Their instructors spoke in calm voices. Remember the rule. No rage, no mercy either, just efficiency. The teams nodded. They understood. On Mars, underground cities buzzed with purpose. Scientists ran final tests on weapons never meant for polite company. EMP cascades that could fry entire fleets. Singularity mines that folded space into deadly knots. Relativistic kill vehicles already in flight. Everything ready. Everything waiting. Above it all, the Sol defense array stayed quiet. Its components hid among asteroids and old satellites. Thousands of railguns, laser banks, missile pods, all linked by quantum comms, all pointed outward. The array had one job: guard the line. No one crosses without permission. Revoked. 17 days passed. The Council grew bolder. Clythari admirals planned new patrols near human space. Zorath commanders marked more fringe worlds for claim. They assumed the silence meant defeat. They prepared to take more. Then on the 18th day, everything changed. No warning came. No declaration. Just arrival. In the Orion Arm, every major Clythari shipyard vanished at once. The strikes hit within seconds of each other. Huge flashes lit the black. When the light faded, nothing remained. No wreckage, No escape pods, just expanding clouds of gas and molten slag. The relativistic impactors had done their work, launched long before the glassing of Epsilon Verge, guided by cold math, timed to perfection. Across 12 Zorath systems, command stations died. Small drones slipped through defenses. They had waited dormant inside supply shipments. Now they woke. They burrowed into hulls. They found reactors and flag bridges. Then they detonated. Antimatter flashes ate the hearts of the ships. Crew lived long enough to scream. Their voices filled open channels. Panic spread fast. Council worlds received the first reports. Stations burned. Fleets lost contact. Admirals vanished in bright bursts. In the Crystal Spire, delegates gathered again. This time, no laughter filled the air. Vexthra stood on the platform. His mandibles twitched. "We face an attack," he said. "But from who?" A Zorath delegate roared. "The humans. It must be. They dare this." Grask slammed his tail on the floor. "We will crush them, mobilize everything." The Luminary delegate glowed bright. "We must confirm first. We cannot rush." But the hollow screens already showed proof. Raw footage leaked across the nets. Propaganda. Helmet cams from human teams. Boarders moved through crippled Zorath ships. They wore plain gray armor. They carried rifles that spat dense rounds. They shot without pause. One clip showed a Zorath officer on his knees. He begged in broken standard, "Please, terms." The human Marine looked down. "You glass children." Terms ended when the first beam hit Epsilon Verge. The shot came quick, clean. The Marine moved on. No celebration, no anger, just the next task. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. This was not war as they knew it. This was something colder, something final. Elena Vasquez sat in her office on the orbital station. She watched the same feeds. Her face stayed calm. Hale entered the room. "It begins," he said. She nodded. "Yes, it begins." The silence had ended. The retaliation had started. Never see it coming. The galaxy reeled from the first blows. News feeds exploded with images of burning shipyards. Clefari orbital rings twisted and broke apart in slow motion. Molten metals spread like blood in vacuum. Zorath dreadnoughts floated dead with gaping holes where bridges used to be. Screams still echoed on replayed channels. Delegates in the Crystal Spire stared at the screens. Their faces showed shock and fear. Vexthra paced the platform. His claws clicked faster than usual. "This is impossible," he said. "Our defenses are perfect. Our sensors see everything." A Zorath admiral stepped forward. His scales had turned dull gray. "They used weapons we banned. Kinetic slugs at mere light speed. They must have launched them months ago, before the incident, before we even voted." Grass growled low. "Cowards. They strike from shadows. They do not face us honorably." A Luminary delegate floated closer. The glow around her body flickered unsteady. "Honor does not matter now. What matters is survival. We must respond as one." Vexthra nodded sharply. "Call the combined fleet. Every member species sends ships. We gather at the rally point near Theta 9. We crush this human madness." The vote passed in minutes. No one abstained. Fear made them swift. Across hundreds of systems, ships lifted from docks. Carriers opened their bays. Battleships powered engines. Support vessels loaded munitions. The fleet formed up. Thousands of hulls. A wall of metal and fire. They jumped toward human space. They expected quick victory. They expected broken humans begging for peace. They were wrong again. On the human side, Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Sol Force flagship. The ship hid in the outer dark beyond Pluto. Its hull drank light. Escaped. Screens showed the Council fleet movements. Red icons swarmed like angry insects. General Hale pointed at one cluster. "They come straight at us." arrogant as always. Elena watched the icons move. They will reach the outer line in 4 days. Hale smiled dim. Then the array wakes. The sole defense array had waited long, its pieces hid among rocks and ice. Railguns longer than skyscrapers. Laser mirrors that focus sunfire into needles. Missile tubes packed with smart warheads, all connected by links no council tech could trace. When the first council scout probed the Orc cloud, the array answered. A single railgun spoke. The slug crossed the distance in heartbeats. The scout ship bloomed into plasma. No debris survived. More scouts followed. More died. The council admirals saw the losses. They pushed harder. They sent waves of fighters. Array met them with calm fury. Lasers sliced through armor. Missiles found weak points. Fighters vanished in flashes. The admirals grew angry. They ordered full advance. The main fleet jumped closer. They emerged near the Kuiper Belt, right into the kill zone. Thousands of kinetic rounds arrived together. Not random, not wild. Timed to the second. They punched through shields. They tore hulls open. They kept coming. Council ships tried to turn. They tried to jump away. Too late. The array had predicted every move. It had run the numbers for years. Now it collected. On one Zorath battleship, the captain roared orders. Shields to full. Evasive now. A slug hit the engine deck. The ship spun. Another hit the bridge. The captain never finished his command. Across the fleet the same story repeated. Ships died fast. Ejected. Pods drifted helpless. Human boarding teams waited in stealth craft. They moved in silence. They latched onto crippled hulls. They cut inside. Marines in gray armor advanced room by room. They shot threats. They ignored pleas. One team reached a Zorath life support core. They planted charges. They left. The ship vented air in a white cloud. Crew floated out frozen. No mercy shown, because none had been given first. Footage spread again. Helmet cams caught every step. One Marine paused over a dying Clythari officer. The insectoid clicked weakly. Why? The Marine answered flat. You burned our children. The officer twitched once, then stilled. The Marine moved on. The galaxy saw these clips. They saw no joy in human faces, no hate, only cold purpose, like accountants balancing books in the crystal spire panic. Grew. Delegates shouted over each other. We must negotiate. We must retreat. Vexthra slammed his claw down. No, we fight. We have numbers. We have power. But even he saw the truth. The fleet shrank by the hour. Reports came in waves. Lost here, destroyed there, stranded in dead space. Then the next wave hit. Sleeper cells activated on council worlds. Human traders who had lived quietly for years. Diplomats who smiled at banquets. Maintenance workers who fixed lights. They moved at once. On Clythari Prime, a space elevator cable snapped. Molecular wire cut clean. The upper station fell like a star. It burned across the sky. Cities below braced for impact. On Zorath Capital, a defense grid turned inward. Turrets fired on palaces. Shields collapsed. Fires spread. Wormhole gates folded. Singularity bombs collapsed them into nothing. Fleets trapped on the wrong side. No way home. Vexthra watched it all on the main holo. His mandibles trembled. How did they do this? How were they inside us? A human voice came over every channel. No face shown, only words. You voted to glass Epsilon Verge. You killed 3 million. Now you pay in kind. Population for population. Industry for industry. The tally continues. We can stop, or we can finish. Choose. The message repeated in every language. Then silence again. The council chamber emptied fast. Species withdrew delegates. Some fled the station. Others locked themselves in bunkers. Vexthra stayed. He stared at the empty human seat. He whispered to the dark, "What are you?" No answer came, only distant flashes. As more ships died, the retaliation grew. It spread like fire through dry grass, and the galaxy began to understand. Humans did not fight for glory. They fought for balance. When the scales tipped, they tipped them back, hard, without pause, without regret. The combined fleet limped on, smaller now, desperate now. They pushed toward Sol. They wanted one last strike. They wanted to hurt the heart. They never reached it. The array waited, patient, perfect, ready to end the lesson. The combined fleet gathered what remained of its strength near the edge of human space. Less than half the original ships survived. Many limped on damaged engines. Others trailed debris like wounded animals. Admirals barked new orders. They formed a tight wedge, a spear aimed straight at Sol. They believed one bold push could reach Earth. One strike at the heart would force surrender. They ignored the warnings in the data. They ignored the math. Vexthro watched from the crystal spire. He stood alone now. Many delegates had fled. The chamber felt empty and cold. He stared at the holomap. Red icons showed human strikes spreading. Blue icons for the council shrank fast. He clenched his claws. "We end this," he said to no one. "We end it now." The fleet jumped forward. They emerged in the scattered rocks of the outer system, right where the Sol defense array waited. Array did not shout. It did not warn. It simply fired. Railguns spoke in perfect unison. Thousands of slugs raced out. They crossed the void in moments. Council shields flared bright, then failed. Hulls crumpled like paper. Explosions bloomed silent in the black. Laser banks joined next. Beams of focus light cut through armor. They sliced engines. They burned sensors. They left ships blind and helpless. Missile swarms followed. Smart warheads sought weak points. They burrowed in. They detonated deep. Ships broke apart in slow, graceful spins. Crews ejected when they could. Most did not get the chance. The array kept firing. It adjusted aim with each second. It predicted dodges before they happened. It ran endless calculations. It never missed twice. On the flagship bridge, a Clethari captain screamed, "Full retreat! Jump now!" Shook his head. "Jump drives offline. Too much damage." The captain looked at the main screen. Human ships appeared then. Not many. Just enough. They moved like wolves around a dying herd. They launched boarding pods. Small dark shapes crossed the gap. They latched on. They cut in. Inside the crippled ships, human marines advanced. Gray armor gleamed under emergency lights. They shot fast and sure. They cleared corridors. They sealed bulkheads. They planted charges on reactors. One team reached the engine room of a Zorath cruiser. A surviving officer blocked the way. He raised his claws. "I surrender." The Marine leader paused. "You glassed our colony." The officer lowered his arms. It was orders. The Marine raised his rifle. Orders ended that day. The shot rang out. The team moved past. They set the timers. Bloomed into a new sun. More ships followed the same fate. The fleet tried to scatter. Some jumped blind. They emerged in dead space. No stars, no planets, just cold nothing. Human hunters waited there too. Stealth ships with long-range guns, they picked off stragglers, one by one. No escape, no mercy. Back on Nexara Prime, alarms wailed. Council worlds faced their own attacks. Human sleepers struck again. On Illuminari Crystal City, maintenance bots turned rogue. They overloaded power grids. Lights died. Shields dropped. Orbital platforms fell like rain. On a Clethari hive world, underground tunnels collapsed. Explosives placed years earlier. Whole districts sank into dust. Billions felt the ground shake. Panic spread through hives. Queens ordered evacuation. Too late. Kinetic rounds from hidden launchers arrived. They hit surface. Factories. They hit breeding chambers. They hit command centers. The tally grew. Population matched population. The humans kept score. In the Crystal Spire, Vextra received the final reports. His home sector burned. His fleet died. His allies ran. He sank to the floor. His compound eyes dimmed. A single human shuttle approached the spire. No escort, no weapons shown. It landed soft on the platform. The ramp lowered. Elena Vasquez stepped out. She wore the same gray uniform. No rank pins, no fear. Guards parted without a word. She walked into the chamber. Vextra rose slowly. "You come alone?" Elena stopped 10 paces away. "I come to speak." Vextra looked around the empty seats. "Your retaliation stuns us all. You destroy without pause." Elena met his gaze. "You started this. You voted to kill our people. Deaths. P. You laughed. Now you feel surprise." Vextra clicked weakly. "We underestimated you." Elena nodded. "Many do." She raised a small data slate. It projected a new map. Human space glowed in steady blue. Council territory shrank to scattered pockets. Red exclusion zones marked systems. Approach and die. She spoke clear. "We have taken what we need. We have balanced the scales. We stop here. If you understand." Vextra stared at the map. His voice cracked. "Why stop? You could finish us." Elena lowered the slate. "Because we choose to stop. We protect our own. We do not conquer for sport. We do not genocide for pride. Cross the line again, and we become what you fear most." Vextra bowed his head. The first bow any council leader gave a human. "We understand." Elena turned. She walked back to the shuttle. Closed. The craft lifted away. Silent, smooth, gone. In the chamber, Vextra stood alone. He looked at the stars through the crystal wall. He saw no victory, only survival. The galaxy watched the shuttle leave. News feeds carried the images. No commentary needed. The message spread fast. Do not provoke the humans. Their math is ruthless. Their balance is exact. They protect what is theirs, and they always finish the count. Trade ships returned to routes. Borders redrew themselves. Species spoke in quiet voices. They remembered Epsilon Verge. They remembered the glassing. They remembered the answer. The council met again days later. Fewer members attended. They voted new rules. No more disciplinary actions. No more quick judgments. Humanity gained full status. No probation. No oversight. Respect born of fear. Factories slowed. Machines powered down. The array went quiet. Ships returned to docks. People mourned their dead. They rebuilt what they could. They watched the stars. They waited, ready if needed. The retaliation ended, but the memory stayed, sharp, clear, eternal. The galaxy learned. Humans forgive, sometimes, but they never forget. And when they answer, the answer comes complete. 72 days after Epsilon Verge burned, the combined fleet returned to Nexera Prime. What remained of it moved slow and broken. Ships with cracked hulls, engines that coughed smoke, shields that flickered weak. They approached under white flags. No weapons charged, no formations tight, just a ragged line seeking truce. The crystal spires stood quiet. Many docking arms stayed empty. Species that once filled the halls had left. Some fled to distant systems, others hid on neutral worlds. Fear kept them away. The few delegates who remained gathered in the chamber. They sat far apart. They spoke in whispers. Vextra waited on the central platform. His once proud stance now slumped. His compound eyes looked dull. He watched the main holo. It showed the human shuttle coming in. Small, plain, alone. It landed without challenge. Soft. Elena Vasquez stepped out. She wore the gray uniform of Sol Force. No weapons, no guards, just the data slate in her hand. She walked into the chamber. The remaining delegates stared. Some trembled. Others looked down. Elena stopped in the center. She faced Vextra. She spoke clear and calm. The tally is complete. You called this session to punish us. You killed 3 million to make a point. We answered. We took 3 million from those who voted yes. We destroyed the shipyards that built your weapons. We crippled the fleets that carried your orders. We stopped there. The chamber stayed silent. Vextra raised his head slow. His voice came weak. You could have kept going. You could have ended us all. Elena nodded once. We could, but we choose not to. We are not you. We do not kill for pleasure. We do not erase species to feel. We protect what belongs to us. We balance what was broken. Nothing more. She lifted the data slate. A new map appeared in the air. Blue lines marked human space. It had grown. Not by conquest, but by default. No one dared enter those zones now. Red circles showed death zones. Systems where council ships would burn on sight. Green paths showed safe trade routes. Narrow, careful, watched. Elena pointed to the map. These are the new borders. Respect them. Trade if you wish, talk if you must, but never cross the red again. Never threaten our people again. Never vote to glass our worlds again. If you do, the math restarts, and next time we do not stop. Vextra looked at the map long. Then he asked the question everyone wanted answered. Why stop now? Why show mercy after such fury? Elena met his eyes. We made it. We can unmake it. Remember that. She turned the slate off. The map vanished. She looked around the chamber, at the broken delegates, at the empty seats, at the fear in their faces. She spoke one last time. The galaxy watched what happened here. It will remember. Tell your people, tell your young, tell your leaders. Humans do not seek war, but when war finds us, we finish it. Completely. She walked back to the shuttle. No one followed. No one spoke. The ramp closed. The craft lifted. It vanished into the violet sky. The chamber remained still for a long time. Vextra sank to his knees. He stared at the floor. A luminary delegate floated close, her glow dim and unsteady. What do we do now? Vextra answered soft. We live. We remember. We never forget. News feeds carried the images. The shuttle landing. Elena standing alone. The new map. The quiet warning. Species gathered in their homes. They talked in low voices. They showed the clips to their children. They explained the lesson. Do not wake the sleeping giant. Do not poke the quiet predator. Do not mistake patience for weakness. Humans forgive sometimes, but their memory lasts forever. On Earth, people returned to normal life. Factories stayed quiet now. The array powered down, ships docked and rested. Families visited graves. They planted trees on new worlds. They rebuilt what was lost. They looked to the stars. They felt no pride in destruction, only relief that it ended. Children asked questions. Why did they attack us? Parents answered simple. Because they thought we were small. Because they thought we would break. We did not break. We answered, and now they know. In hidden meetings on distant worlds, leaders of old species met in secret. They spoke of the humans. They spoke of the retaliation. They agreed on one thing: never again, never test that strength, never force that answer. Trade resumed slow. Ships crossed borders with care. No one challenged human patrols. No one questioned human claims. The council reformed. Smaller, quieter, more careful. They passed new laws. No hasty votes. No quick punishments. Full membership for Earth. No questions asked. Respect earned in fire. Years passed. The event became legend. Stories told in different ways, but always the same core. A colony burned. A species answered. The galaxy stunned. The title repeated in whispers. Earth's ruthless retaliation stuns the entire Galaxy Council. Stayed. A warning etched in stars. A promise kept. A balance restored. Humans moved forward. They explored. They built. They lived. They watched. Always ready. Always calm. Always human. The end.